Good morning, and happy autumn equinox to you today. Woohoo is right. We had an amazing drumming circle and autumn equinox ceremony Friday night at the sanctuary. And so I just want to bring into our awareness this morning that today is, in fact, the first day of fall. And it is the day that we recognize that there is this experience of balance taking place. You know, this is the day and the night where we have the same length of time of daylight and the same length of time of darkness. And so there's this feeling of balance that comes with that. So we're here this morning to get our peace on, is what we're doing this morning. And so I wanted to ask you, how many of you feel peaceful? So for the rest of you, I guess it's a good thing you showed up for service this morning. I would say. So, and I also want to point out some major gratitude to these two people that are sitting over here in the audio-visual department. Yes, you're pointing to Bart. Major gratitude. I was laughing. You know, when I get ready in the morning and stuff, I have all these wild thoughts that go through my head, and I was just feeling so much gratitude for Mark and for Eric in the audio-visual department, because they never really know until like the night before usually, and sometimes morning of, what I'm going to be throwing at them for a Sunday morning. And this morning we've got pretty much all of it going on. You know, we've got PowerPoint, we've got video, we've got song and dance. No, I'm just kidding about the song and dance. But no matter what it is that comes their way, they do a fabulous, phenomenal job, and I just have a tremendous amount of gratitude in my heart for what they do up there. So if we could start with our first slide there, Mark, thank you. Today is another special day, other than it being the first day of fall and the autumn equinox, that it's also International Day of Peace. Isn't that pretty cool? September the 21st. And you know, that started back in 1981 was the first time that was started, and that's been going on now every year on September the 21st since 1981. And what exactly is that I'm speaking of? You can go to the next slide, Mark. The International Day of Peace, which was established in 1981, was established where the United Nations General Assembly declared this day devoted to strengthening the ideals of peace both within and among all nations and peoples. So what does that really mean? You can go to the next slide. What that really means is right now, all over the world, in pretty much every country on this globe, everyone is dedicating their conscious awareness and their prayers in whatever devotion they are committed to peace. So let's just take a moment to realize and recognize that right now. Because we know we're all connected in this room. We're connected to each other. And I'm going to go on and in my service today kind of point out what that connection and what that effect and what that means for everybody. But just think about it, all over the planet. Here are some of the organizations that assist with that taking place, but it's not all of them. And we actually are registered too. This service this morning is on the International Registry, and it's posted so that anybody that wanted to come and participate in this International Day of Peace with us this morning knew about it. So I think that's pretty darn cool myself. And then something happened in 1999. This guy named Jeremy founded Peace One Day. And that's the name of it, Peace One Day. And I think that's on the next slide. Is it or is it not? The Peace One Day, I'm not sure. Peace One Day, which is another nonprofit organization that began a campaign to have International Day of Peace to also become a day of global ceasefire. I think that's pretty cool because they were extremely successful. And so not only right now at this very moment all over the planet are people coming together and realizing and recognizing and feeling peace, but all over the planet, ceasefire is taking place. Any place where there may be conflict, where there may have been warring and any kind of bombing or shooting or any kind of activity like that, today it's not happening. And so what does that mean? What exactly is the impact of that? Well, I tell you, folks, it means a lot. And we're going to go in this morning of what that impact is happening all over the globe and for us individually and for us in the community. But there's a neat video that's 1 minute long that I'm going to show you that kind of summarizes why that started and all of the benefit and impact that's going on all over the world. And do you need some, just let me know if you need a little bit more time to pull it up, because I can keep talking. But are you good, or do you want me to go ahead and? Okay, perfect. So here's the video.
It took 3 years to create a peace day, a day of ceasefire and non-violence, the 21st of September. It took another 6 years to show that that day could work by stopping the fighting in Afghanistan on the day. As a consequence of that ceasefire, millions of children were vaccinated against polio. Peace Day is a day of ceasefire, but it's also a day of non-violence when individuals come together to make peace. So who will you make peace with? This year, Akon is singing to celebrate Peace Day from our concert in Goma, DRC. How will you celebrate? So far, we've told around 500 million people that Peace Day is working. Our target is 3 billion by 2016. So play football, sing, dance, pray, celebrate Peace Day your way, and be part of this global movement.
Thank you, Mark. So we are now currently a part of this global movement. I personally think we always have. I personally think every day is Peace Day, at least it is with me and in my world. But I absolutely love the fact that all over the world there is a particular day where that's taking place. And the reason why is this. You know I've talked before about the effects that different studies have shown in different cities. This occurred in Atlanta, Georgia, during a research, and this occurred in Los Angeles, California, about when groups decide to move into meditation and pray for peace, the crime at that time declines rapidly. And they've shown this over and over and over again, that there is an actual physical manifestation of effect from our consciousness. And of course, that's what we teach, right, y'all? That's why we're here. But we're now, especially with quantum physics and with these research, well, there's some research that was done on this International Day of Peace because it's been going on now for so long and so many years. They've started to put together some tangible benefits that can be charted, and I want to share that with you now, too. Not really sure what order that's in, but if we could go to that chart. Here we go. So here's a chart that's on their website that shows this blue line is the number of events that are taking place all over the world, and then this red line is the cumulative deviation of what's taken place from global peace and harmony. And so basically what that means is, and this is what they put on their website, when organizations set out to pray for peace and meditate on a certain day for a certain period of time, it actually affects the statistics of crime in that area. But not only that, but it raises the conscious awareness. The power of synchronized prayer. The red line shows how prayer by millions of people around the world affect devices called REGs, R-E-Gs. These devices have been shown to measure the power of consciousness, and they are based on patterns of quantum noise, which occur when many people around the world think the same thought or focus on the same idea. Now, we already know that that's possible, that that exists, that that's kind of how energy works. But here's some information that they've been doing now over a number of years that's showing, my God, it's really affecting the whole world. And the reason why I'm putting this into place is, think about it. I've had some folks talk to me over the past couple of months, just individually, sharing their thoughts and their feelings of unrest that's going on around the world, maybe the stuff that's showing up in the news, having their own personal questions, feeling helpless, or what is it that we can do? Here it is, folks, and it's what we come together to do on Sundays and in classes and on Friday nights and anytime we gather together. Our consciousness, our mind, our thinking, this is what we teach over and over again. Change your thinking, change your life. Everything that we manifest, we're manifesting physical representation of that. The universe always says yes to everything that we think and everything that we project from ourselves. We know this. Yet how often do we apply it in a together field and even worldly, internationally? It's being applied, and the effects, the positive benefits and effects are actually showing up. And this works. In the Big Sky Retreat that a few of us just came back from, one of our breakout sessions, we did this really cool exercise where the gentleman teaching it, he does kinesiology in his work, and kinesiology is when you muscle test, and it's based on energy and the guidance that, you know, our consciousness that's not always, it's like the higher consciousness where we can tap into that, where it doesn't go through our brain. We're not thinking what the answer is going to be. We're actually calling on the true answer that's within our full selves, our full bodies. And so he did this neat example and had us in a big circle. And he wrote a word on a piece of paper and gave it to the lady to his right. And he had us all hold hands. And then he muscle tested the person that was at the beginning of the circle. These two people were not holding hands. So just imagine a big circle, and the person here is holding hands with this person, but not the person that's holding the paper. And he wrote a word on the piece of paper. He did this before we held hands, and then he did it afterwards. And one word he wrote love. One word he wrote hate. One word he wrote peace. One word he wrote war. And so he had the woman hold the paper that said love, and he muscle tested the woman that was not holding her hand, but was holding the hand that started the circle all the way around the room. And she tested really strong for that word love. Then he took the paper away from the woman that was holding it and gave her another piece of paper that none of us could see yet. And it said hate, and she could not hold her arm up at all. Did the same thing for peace, did the same thing for war. You see, we're all energetically connected. And that, to me, was the perfect example and representation of what's happening today with International Day of Peace. You know, we truly believe that when we meditate together, and when we pray together, and we hold this single intention, that being of peace, that it makes a difference. It has a profound effect on our global consciousness all over the world, and it will create energetic shifts that take place. I mean, how many of us maybe sometime in our lifetime thought, what can I do? You know, what can I possibly do to affect peace on this entire planet? Me, just me, one little old me. How can I possibly pull off peace all the way across the planet? Well, just imagine, not just you guys in this room, not just everybody in this community or this state or this country, but everybody all across the globe. Imagine us holding hands and having that piece of paper that says peace. How strong do you think we'd be in holding that consciousness? I got to watch in my lifetime the Berlin Wall dissolve. You know, that happened, and it seemed to happen almost overnight. I'm here to tell you that there isn't anything that's impossible. I believe in world peace. I believe that it's possible. And I know that each one of us makes a difference in affecting that every single day of our life. And so I believe every day is Peace Day. Even though today is internationally recognized as Peace Day, every day is Peace Day. Last week we manifested a renaissance, and I talked about, okay, well, if we know all this, then why are we not experiencing peace in the globe right now? And so I talked a little bit about anguish and vengeance and ignorance, the three things that we kind of dove into in detail last week, showing why. You know, that anguish that comes from forgetting temporarily that we're connected and one with the divine, that we really are expressions of the divine, that each and every one of you are powerful beyond belief, and that your souls have exactly what it needs to guide and direct your life in just absolute perfect manifestation, that we all have that ability and capability within our lives. And sometimes we forget that. We forget that we're less than, and then we operate based on that false belief. Oh, because I'm less than, blah, 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 blah. And then the vengeance comes out. You know, I gave some examples of where anytime, anywhere, any place you feel like your life is out of control, or you are out of control, or there's a situation in front of you that feels out of control, What can you do to establish some sort of control? You lash out. You just do. I was talking to somebody this week who was asking me why. They were going through this particular situation where somebody lashed out, and they just kept going, why? I just don't understand, and why did they do that? And then it dawned on me, and I said, wait a minute, tell me what they were going through. What was their situation? And it was a situation where they had been removed from life as they knew it. They had no control of their life whatsoever, at least it appeared that way. And I said, do you think possibly they were lashing out because they were just trying to establish some form of control? There's the vengeance piece, and then there's the ignorance. The ignorance that if we don't know that we are divine expressing, if we don't know that we're completely connected and that my thought of peace or war can affect those around me and can affect the whole globe, then how do we possibly use it to the best use of our ability? We would tend to misuse it, wouldn't we, if we didn't know better? So there's the piece of the ignorance. And so when we take all that into our understanding, and then we move through our daily practices, we are able to catch ourselves even greater, aren't we? Anguish? No. I'm going to take myself back to the truth. If you feel like you're in a situation where somebody might be lashing out at you, or you have this tendency to lash out at somebody else, just remember, control. You know, isn't that basically what war is all about? You know, trying to say, oh, I'm more in control than you are, or I'm bigger and badder than you are. But what do we know is the truth? What really makes us not bigger and badder, but what rises us above is holding peace in our heart and the idea of unification, that we are completely connected. There is no separation. If we knew there was no separation, how could I possibly do anything to you to harm you? I'd just be harming myself. So, second graph, this is really cool. Second graph that they found out is the next key piece that they found out for International Day of Peace is the importance of time when one prays. It has been discovered in scientific experiments that there is a best time of the day when intuitive messages are most accurately received. Prayer is an example of messages of this type. The graph shows how accurately such messages are received versus the time of day. The peak of the graph shows the best time, and it's found to be dependent on the position of the stars overhead. Isn't this cool that they've done this research? I personally think it's really cool, because I'm getting ready to tell you what the time is today, that everybody around the world and all these organizations that are banded together are going to stop and have this meditation and this prayer time. And so this is why. They've done all this research. So they said it depends on the position of the stars overhead and is therefore called sidereal time. Because the peak has width of about a half an hour on each side, this defines a 1 hour window that should be the best time for sending and receiving prayer for peace, to effect peace, and to dissolve conflict around the world. And so it shows the best time of the day to pray. And that's time, hours. And so they've created this and done this research so that, you know, just like everything else, if you give somebody a time, we can all come together and create something from that. So they're basically giving everybody around the world a time. And ours, it's 12 p.m. Pacific time. So for us, it's 1 p.m. Mountain time. And so at that time, 1 p.m. Mountain time today, everybody all over the world is engaging into this moment of going into prayer and going into meditation for peace. Now, most likely, we're not going to still be together at 1 o'clock. Praise Jesus, right? But the reason why I'm telling you this and showing you the chart is so that maybe you can set your cell phone alarm or an alarm in your home or wherever you're going to be so that you can stop whatever it is that you're doing, or maybe even after this, plan something sacred to you that you can uniquely specialize, that has meaning for you, so that you can then add your prayer of peace along with all of the millions of people all over the world, and we affect this idea. So for all of those that I've actually heard say, well, what can I do? I can't do anything to affect peace. And for all those that may have thought at some time, yes, you can. Yes, we all can. And here's an example of how that can be. You know, peace, this is a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. World peace through nonviolent means is neither absurd nor unattainable. All other methods have failed. Thus, we must begin anew. Nonviolence is a good starting point. Those of us who believe in this method can be voices of reason, sanity, and understanding amid the voices of violence, hatred, and emotion. We can very well set a mood of peace out of which a system of peace can be built. That's what we're doing today. We're setting a mood of peace, and whereas a system of peace can be built, laying that groundwork, laying that foundation. Is everybody with me on that? You good? You excited? You want to pray for peace at 1 p.m. this afternoon? Because we're going to do what we need to do to get that going. Ralph Waldo Emerson says, peace cannot be achieved through violence. It can only be attained through understanding. So, how is your understanding of peace right now in your life? Just take a moment and go within and ask yourself, what is my understanding of peace right now in my life? Dr. Martin Luther King again, I am convinced that love is the most durable power in the world. It is not an expression of impractical idealism, but of practical realism. Far from being the pious injunction of a utopian dreamer, love is an absolute necessity for the survival of our civilization. To return hate for hate does nothing but intensify the existence of evil in the universe. Granted, I'm quoting Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. here. Someone must have sense enough and religion enough to cut off the chain of hate and evil, and this can be done only through love. Bless you. So I'm pretty sure that we all wish to see peace through the nations. I don't normally make assumptions, but I'm going to step out and make that assumption this morning that most of us, probably all of us in this room, would love to experience peace all over the globe. And we get to stop and think, well, other than stopping at one and doing our own personal, unique, wonderful, sacred prayer for peace and meditation for peace, what else can we do? How about we go to the one before the graph? Peace is not something you wish for. It's something that you make, something you do, something you are, and something that you give away. The thing that we can do to establish peace is individually. You know, there's the quote that, and I think I have it in the slides, about peace has to come from within. We can just switch through them. Yeah, peace is the result of retraining your mind to process life as it is rather than as you think it should be. I think that's pretty cool, by Wayne Dyer. You know, what it is that we can do is we look within. Peace begins with us. I know you guys have probably heard that over and over and over again. I'm sorry that I don't know the source, but I'm pretty sure it's Buddha that started that and coined that peace begins within us. And so that's really what we can do. When I was doing a little bit of research on this talk and all about making peace, you know, we're manifesting. We're focusing on manifestations this month. And what it is we're making peace. You'd be amazed at all the things that I found. It really became comical. There were articles on how to make peace with your past, how to make peace with God, how to make peace with money, how to make peace with your plate, how to make peace with your body, how to make peace with bacon. I'm telling you, there is actually information out there on how we can make peace with bacon. There's so many areas that folks have an opinion and some insight on how we can make peace with whatever it is that we may be feeling out of peace with. Is anybody feeling out of peace with bacon this morning? Just want to know. No, not at all. Got it. So who and what do you need to be making peace with? Well, it begins with ourselves. It's a powerful and it's profound, and I think it's the absolute best place to start. You know, one of the first conflicts that comes up for folks that have a hard time making peace with themselves is conflict within, as we carry around this baggage. You know, we have some regrets in there, or some resentments. You know, we got to let that go. You know that, right? I mean, we've covered that a few times. Just let it go. Lay down the bag. Just walk away from it. Sometimes we can have feelings of frustration or futility. Like if you do watch the news all the time and you see what's going on, and it might tend to make you think, well, what the heck? What can I possibly do? That's a futile thought. So how do we make peace with that? Well, I can give you a few actions to take, just a few ideas, but I'd really like for you to come up with your own, and we'll get to that in a second. But how to make peace with yourself. You know, part of the solution is to be present. I know we're always talking about that, but I'm going to talk about it again. We be present. Understanding that in each moment that you take a breath, that you blink an eye, whatever you do minute to minute, moment to moment is very, very unique, and it's very special, and it's very sacred. And when we live in the present, it removes you from being entrapped in the past. It allows you to drop that baggage. You know, something happened this morning, early this morning, when I was finishing preparations. The sky, you know, the sun was coming up and the light was just perfect. You know, I see Ross nodding his head. I mean, it was gorgeous. There was something about the lighting. And something, right, caused me to look up and look out the window to notice the gorgeous light that was taking place. And this perfectly pure white feather was dropping down right in front of my window. And I know how air works with feathers, but then it kind of stopped. It seemed to be just sitting there, midair, this perfectly white feather, and it didn't drop. It stayed there for what felt like a really long time. And the whiteness of the feather against the beautiful colors of the sun coming up was quite starking. It was striking. And I just laughed, you know, because I'm preparing this message, and I'm looking at this very unique, surreal experience taking place. And that feather hung out there for the longest time. And then it just finally went like this, and I watched it the whole rest of the way. And I don't know why. I can't possibly write about it or tell you or point it out in a textbook as to why that was meaningful for me or touching, but it was. It was a sacred moment for me, where I felt that I could tune even more so into the beauty, the gloriousness of the divine that was taking place right in front of my face. So look up. Look up and see the feather and see the light and see everything else that's going on right here in our lives each and every moment for our amazement and our astonishment and our gratitude. So here's a little short list. When you eat slowly, reflecting on the experience of the moment. Put on your favorite music and listen to it intently for a few minutes, cherishing every note like you've never done before. Hug someone and hug a lot. Remember what it feels like to walk in the grass without your shoes and then go do it. You know, a lot of you know that Tony and I just got back from camping for a week in Yellowstone. And I have to admit, it's been a difficult transition for me. It really has. Almost every morning I wake up and I'm like, I miss our tent. And Tony goes, well, I can put it up in the garage for you if you want. I said, that's not what I meant. I mean, when you live for a whole week on the ground and under trees and next to water and you hardly ever go into a building, there's something about it that just brings about this profound connection to what is alive in this universe. I just love it. So if you haven't walked on grass lately, I recommend you go do that. And play in the leaves, too. This is the perfect time. Make your favorite cup of coffee or tea or hot chocolate and savor each smell and every moment of the process that it took for you to brew it and drink it. Now, this is a perfect favorite of mine because I'm a huge lover of exotic hot teas, and I just love it. It's like a hug to myself every time I make myself a cup of hot tea. Lie in bed and think about something wonderful before going to sleep and let those thoughts linger with you throughout the next day. Perform a random act of kindness. Take at least an hour to read a book and return to this book each day so that you can look forward to turning each page. Express how you feel to yourself and remind yourself that you are truly a very unique person and there is absolutely no one like you anywhere. Go for a walk and pay attention to every noise that comes from nature. Those are 10 simple steps. So knowing what the time frame is for our gathering around everyone and around the world for peace, you've all got an envelope with pins in your chair. And what we're going to do is on that envelope, I'm going to guide us through an experience real quick. And basically, what you're going to write on that envelope with that pin, in as large of letters as you possibly can, is right now, if you could take a moment to close your eyes, get comfortable. Put your hand over your heart. Get in touch with that heart space, with that space that emanates love, understanding, compassion, openness, receptivity. Tune in to that soulful part of yourself. And now, allow whatever comes up for you when I ask you this question. Peace to me is. Peace to me is. And as soon as you have what wants to come through, as soon as you have what peace to you is, go ahead and write it on that envelope as big as you can. Peace to me is. You know, and when I did it myself this morning, these are some that I came up with. The first thing that came to me was gratitude. The second thing that came up to me was living in harmony with my values. That's what peace is to me. And then the third thing was loving everyone. So, of course, I couldn't take just one. So feel free to put whatever comes to you on your envelope, because we're going to do something with these envelopes when we're circled up. And so just finish up writing down what peace to you is. And now we're just going to close with prayer, knowing that we bring to our awareness and we recognize and realize in our heart that there is only one. There is only one divine loving energy, one infinite intelligence. There is only one experience of the divine in unlimited ways in which we are perfectly connected. And I know that the second we stop and we realize and we're made aware of the fact that we are one with the divine, that in that moment, every cell in our body, our soul, our mind, our heart space completely opens up and is receptive to receiving the unlimited, wise, divine guidance of Spirit, the unlimited, powerful, profound love, the unlimited healing energy, the compassion, the joy, the harmony, the serenity, and the peace that passes all understanding. For it is in this very moment, right here and now, that we recognize that there is only Spirit, there is only the divine, there is only God, and we are one with it. And because of that, and due to that, we are the full and complete embodiment of love and joy and peace and harmony. And we are so filled with the love of the divine that it radiates from us and it touches every single person we come in contact with. This is our truth, and this is our experience, and this is the moment now. And it is for this I am so incredibly grateful. For the knowledge, for the experience, for the opportunity, for the privilege, and for just being divine in expression. As together we proclaim, and so it is.